Hello, my name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course, and we are in a fascinating conversation just before class started that I wanted to include you with because what we're talking about is preparation for the test. What we're talking about is that some schools never talked about how to take a test. And I was just about to make a promise. And here's the promise. I promise you, you actually know everything, almost everything you need to know to pass the MBLEx. The challenge is staying calm enough to use the filing cabinet in your brain, the database that's in your brain, is accessed through the breath. And so, and also, guess what? Divine inspiration, divine answers that enter your mind, your help from above, if you will, from your angels, from God, from your ancestors, from your dearly departed family, from your guides, all of that help that's available to us also comes through the breath. We have all the information. All we have to do is tap into it. We have to tap into that database. And the way we do that is not only through the breath, that's short and simple, right? But we also do it through building our test-taking stamina. And so if you're taking my practice exams, awesome. If you're taking David Merlino, ABMP, AMTA, any of those practice exams, building your test-taking stamina. We compared it to running a race. If you were to walk out your front door right now, how long would you be able to jog? Just jog along, right? Would you be able to jog along for 10 minutes? 30 minutes? An hour? Are you a runner? Could you run for an hour and a half? That sounds awful, doesn't it? It's not that awful. It's not that awful. Some of you are runners, and that sounds fun, especially in the right weather. But think about this MBLEx as you're going out for a jog. We have to build your test-taking stamina, your brain's ability to focus, to lose focus, to refocus, to get frustrated, to refocus. That's what we're doing by taking practice exams. We're building your test-taking stamina. And so that's a big part of being successful with the MBLEx, because it's intimidating. We're already nervous. Sometimes I compare the MBLEx to the driving exam. Like if you went to renew your driver's license and they said, oh, guess what, Miss Jody, you've been randomly selected to do a driving test. I'd be like, oh, damn. Okay. I would be a little nervous. And I've been driving for over 20 years. Heck, I've been driving a lot longer than that. Anyhow, but I'm just saying, even something we know very well, maybe we do every day when it comes to test, that's where it starts to mess with us. So that's what we're doing here. We're building our test-taking stamina so that we have the ability to be self-aware during our test, identify, hey, I get frustrated, hey, I get nervous, hey, I lose my focus, and be able to bring it back. And that is a test-taking strategy. It's an important test-taking strategy. Your focus. We don't focus on much anymore in this current lifestyle. So Just giving your brain the opportunity to get stronger and learn how to focus. It's part of what we're doing here. And it'll serve you well in the treatment room as well. And so I bring to you the MBLEx review course because no one at my school taught me anything about this. And so in our MBLEx review course, we do this live session in 3 parts. I just talked to you about test taking strategy. That's always part 1. Take about 10 minutes and talk about test taking strategies that you will need to be successful. In part 2, we do some learning, just in case there are a few things that you may have forgotten since school. Some graduates of massage school that are in this program, in this course, they went to school a long time ago. And now they found, uh-oh, spaghetti-o, I got to take the MBLEx. And so there might be some things that we need to remember or need to relearn, right? That's part 2 of our class. In part 3, we dissect questions. That's another test-taking strategy, that if you see a question on the MBLEx that you will have no idea, maybe you only know 1 or 2 words in the entire question, by dissecting that question, by dissecting the answers, you can get much closer to the best answer. There's a strategy around reading a question. There's a strategy around reading those answers. And so we practice that in class. All right. One more thing I want to show you. And this is your online learning center. So here, let me go ahead and do this. Here is a post from a couple days ago that I wanted to share with you. And I realized that I had not been framing in this coursework as clearly as I could. And so from now on, we will treat these classes just like they're college classes. And here is your curriculum. So this is a post made just a couple days ago, and it outlines what the expectation is. Now, some people will go faster. Some people will go at a more steady pace in between. Faster or slower does not matter. Just depends on you and your goals. But my expectation is that you'll do 1 class. You'll be here in this class, or you'll be doing an online class, or you'll listen to this recording, or you'll do an online class, which is the full-length classes in the online learning center. And you'll take a practice exam, whether it's mine or someone else's. I just want to change the view here. Hang on just a second. I have to do it later. So that's the expectation. 1 class, 1 practice exam. Mine or someone else's, you're spending 2 hours doing a practice exam each week. Because, as we were talking about earlier, one graduate shared, oh my gosh, about a thunderstorm rolled through, the Wi-Fi went out. Hey, if you plan to do a practice exam every week, then in the course of 4 weeks, or 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, or 12 weeks, you get a lot more done than if you plan to only take them at the end. So every week, that's the expectation. And here's our curriculum. So you'll see, this is how we move through the live classes. And I just wanted to frame that in for you so that you see we're covering each of these categories, which comes from the content outline from the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. So the FSMTB Federation, these are the categories they recommend we study. And this week I'll share that content outline with you again, because they break down exactly the different categories as well as the content within those categories. But these are the 8 categories that they give us. So this was a post from just a couple days ago. It's tagged with curriculum, instructions, outline, content outline. How does this work? Yeah, so you can go back and find it. All right. So let's move into our learning for today. And our learning for today, I didn't even tell you. It's actually, we're going to be doing upper body anatomy. Maybe I did tell you. All right. So we're going to cover the big stuff. Now, in massage school, of course, they talked to you about lots of detail about the upper body. My goodness. I mean, yeah, we could spend a week doing upper body anatomy. And I'm sure you spent a long time in school talking about the upper body. Today, we're going to be talking about the upper extremities. We're going to be talking about some things you need to know. And what we do with my anatomy classes is we talk about the anatomy, but we also talk about some pathologies. So you're going to get the anatomy, and you're also going to get some of the problems that happen with that anatomy. All right, you ready to go? I want to say a quick thank you to Dr. Sunil because he uploaded a whole bunch of slides. They're pretty good, and I'm using a bunch of them today. So thank you, Dr. Sunil. All right. So let's take a look at what is the anatomy we're going to be talking about today. So the upper body is composed of the clavicle. This is an anterior view. Let me move me over here. Okay. This is an anterior view. You see the rib cage, the clavicle. We've also got, let's take a look here. This glenoid. Okay, let's go in order. Clavicle. Oop, that's spelled wrong. The scapula. The scapula is the flat bone, also called the shoulder blade, that sits on your rib cage in the posterior compartment, right? So we see just a corner of the scapula here, but if we were looking at the back, we would see two scapulas, and we'll see that picture in a later slide. But this is an anterior view from the front, and you can see here this part of the scapula. We've got the humerus. I'm going in order here. So scapula humerus. We've got the radius. We've got the ulna. Trying to get this thing to go. So we've got the carpal bones. We've got the metacarpal bones and the phalanges, all part of the hand. Well, the carpals are technically part of the wrist. Then we've got the metacarpals. In English, it's M-E-T. Dr. Sunil apparently needs a spell check. So our metacarpals and our phalanges, right? Phalanges. Now, we'll see this. We'll see more of the anatomy of these bony structures here in just a moment. So here's the clavicle. This is also called the collarbone. So the collarbone here in this x-ray, you can see there's a problem, right? There's been a break in the collarbone. So let's take, so the medial part, so medial, the midline of the body, the medial part of our clavicle. Go ahead and touch your clavicle. Feel your collarbone. So this is the bone that the medial part, right here in the middle, articulates. Articulates is a fancy way of saying connects to, talks to, is in a conversation with, articulates with the sternum. So our clavicle comes in and touches our sternum. That's SC, sternoclavicular. SC, sternoclavicular. Right, so our SC joint. The lateral part, lateral, remember anatomical position, the lateral part of our clavicle articulates with the acromion process of the scap. Take a look at where that is. So here's the scapula, and here's the acromion process. So see here how that clavicle has an articulation with the acromion, and the acromion technically is part of the scapula. It's a little hoop-de-doo on the top. I'm sure orthopedic surgeons would be happy to hear that it's a hoop-de-doo, but it's not really. It's just this bony prominence. There we go. It's a bony prominence on the top, right here, the acromion and the clavicle, and that's called the AC joint. The AC joint. So if you follow your clavicle all the way out, your AC joint. And sometimes when you hear about someone who has a shoulder injury, they've injured their AC joint, their acromion clavicle. Acromion being the bony prominence on the top of the scapula and the clavicle right here in the front. So this is also, the clavicle is the most common bone in the body to be fractured. It's you'll see, because part of the reason is because it's subcutaneous. Ooh, do you remember subcutaneous from when we did the integumentary system, the skin? That means there's just no muscle. There's really not a lot of muscle. It's just below the skin, our clavicle. So it's the subcutaneous layer. It's under the skin, not a lot of muscle there. But it's the most common bone to be injured. It's also called the collarbone, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. And you'll see this now and then on your massage table. In that, you'll see that someone has either healed from a fracture or they fractured their collarbone. Now, hopefully this is healed. It doesn't look very healed. But sometimes you can get a really wonky, if you've ever broken your collarbone, you know, you can get a really wonky, crooked clavicle from the way it heals. And so one of the things we'll do as massage therapists, see this nice area under the clavicle? Right in here? That's a lovely place. Touch it on yourself. Find your clavicle, go right under it. Follow it out. Glide. A lovely place to work. Technically, you're working on the pectoralis major there. But let's take a look at this anatomy again. Here's the clavicle. Here's the head of the humerus. And you'll see that head of the humerus articulates with this flat, it's actually not flat, it's a little divot called a fossa. We've seen this before and we'll see it again. Fossa, F-O-S-S-A, just means kind of an indentation where something goes. And we'll see this with where the infraspinatus lives. But here, this is called the glenoid fossa. And we saw it back here. See the glenoid cavity? Where the head of the humerus meets the scapula, the cavity, right? So if there's a cavity, just means a hole, an opening. If there's a cavity in the rock, yeah, there's an opening. So if you have a cavity, sometimes you have to have your tooth out, right? And it leaves a hole, but the cavity is actually the hole. So the glenoid cavity has glenoid fossa, and that's where the head of the humerus lays. All right, let's take a look at the scapula. I'll take one last look at that crooked clavicle. It still functions just fine. But as you can imagine, some of the muscles that surround it may be overworking. All right, here is a picture of the scapula. This is the posterior view. It covers from the second, typically from the second to the seventh rib. It's considered a triangle. See how this is a triangular bone? If this was the top of the triangle, it would almost be equilateral, right? Not quite, but so this is considered the medial. So here on the scapula, posterior view, right? Posterior view. So out here is where, see the glenoid cavity again? The glenoid cavity. The glenoid cavity is on the lateral aspect, right? It's further away from the midline of the body. The glenoid cavity is on the lateral aspect. So take a look here. That's why they call this the medial border of the scapula, medial border of the scapula, because it's closest to the spine. It's closest to the spine right here. Medial border of the scap, medial border of the scap. We're seeing from the back, from the posterior view. So the glenoid cavity articulates with the head of the humerus. I just like to, I can't quite see the bottom there. So, yeah. All right. So here's the lateral border. So remember, here's one way to think about this. Do you know where your lats are? Your latissimus dorsi? Think about that. Let me stop the share here for just a moment. Think about that with like a muscle, like a bodybuilder, right? So when a bodybuilder has lats, sometimes they do the big flex, right? Oh, right, and you see their lats. And then if you see the picture of their back, it's that V muscle, the latissimus dorsi. Sorry, I don't have the image here for you right now of the lats. But let's go back to the image of the lateral border of the scapula, because it's also where the lats live. So the latissimus dorsi is that V-shaped muscle in the back, that nice big muscle, right? We love to get into the lats. The lateral border, here's the lateral border of the scapula. And I go into detail because when you have questions on the MBLEx about movement, we need to be clear about the bony landmarks that they actually give us. If they say the medial or lateral aspect of the scapula, you're going to need to know where they're talking about. Is the movement in? Is the movement out? Is it medial? Is it lateral? Now you have, because if you just see the picture of the bone, it doesn't always look like what you think it looks like on the back. Be careful. Let's move along. Let's talk about two pathologies I love to cover these pathologies because they're very common, and sometimes you also get them right there on the MBLEx. So the tennis elbow. So when we are in anatomical position, we are standing, feet are facing forward, hands, palms are forward, therefore thumbs are up, okay? If you are not driving or operating heavy machinery, put your arms into anatomical position. Okay, this is where we establish lateral or medial. And tennis elbow happens to be the lateral epicondyle. So take a look at your arm right now. Let me pop this out. So take a look at your arm right now. Thumb is up. The lateral part of your arm is the thumb side. Now, go ahead and put your hand into extension. That means you're going to, from anatomical position, From anatomical position, bring your fingers back. Extend the hand. Extend. There you go. Now, when you are in that position, go ahead and take 2 fingers from anatomical position and feel that outside of the elbow. You are extending, you're using your extensor muscles, and that is where tennis elbow originates. All right, hopefully you can see that because I can't see what you can see right now. So let me change our view for just a moment so that I can see what you are seeing. Okay, we'll go back to our extensors. All right, so here you go. One more time, extend the hand from anatomical position and feel those muscles, right? You guys, this is opening you up to a whole new world. You're going to be working the elbows. How fun is that? It's awesome. It's so beneficial, even for people who are not tennis players. For real. As our fella says here, as the doc, I don't know why he picked on housewives, house husbands, but this is those muscles. It's called tennis elbow, or it's really the proper name is lateral epicondylitis, right? But tennis, violinists, people who do regular work at the home, anything we're doing that extends when we use our extensors, right? So we're using our extensors. When you even just extend your fingers, feel what it does to your forearm. Oh my goodness, you guys, just wait until you're seeing, you're working on people, you're working on clients regularly. Work their elbows. Watch this. Let's go into medial epicondylitis. I'm going to hide this so you can see. So like you may have guessed, lateral epicondylitis is here in the lateral aspect. Medial epicondylitis is on the other side of the elbow, on the pinky side of the elbow. And it's called medial epicondylitis. It can be from playing golf. It can be from construction work. It can be from, can be even maybe not so much from typing sometimes, but like any work that you're flexing the hand. So we extend the hand with our extensors here on the, what we would call the top of the arm, right? But when we flex, we're flexing, and that can be when we carry through a golf swing, we flex, we break that, I'm not perfect at golf swings, but that's why it's called golfer's elbow. But it's not just golfer's elbow. So when you work with a client, definitely work both the medial region, pinky side, right? An anatomical position. So an anatomical position, pinky side. This is considered medial because it's closer to the body. You with me? All right, good. Think about it for a minute. But that medial side, an anatomical position, that inside part of the elbow, the pinky side, is closer to the body. But in practice, just go ahead and work both sides. Yeah. All right. Let's just see how we're doing on time. We're doing great. Okay. All right. These are the muscles that abduct the upper arm. Just wanted you to be aware because sometimes you will get a question about abduction of the upper arm. So we're moving away from the midline of the body when we abduct. We're moving closer to the midline of the body when we adduct. Typically, we only see this, we see it more in lower extremities, right? So adductors, groin muscle, that's bringing the legs in. So if the legs were standing like this, bringing them in is adduction. Bringing them out is abduction. AB, abduction. We see abduction a lot of the shoulder though, because people get pain when they abduct their shoulder, right? They can only, I can only lift it here. So what two muscles are the primary movers for abduction? And that is the deltoid and the supraspinatus. Most of us know the deltoid, right? That muscle here, we have an anterior, a medial, and a posterior. But this brings us into the rotator cuffs because the supraspinatus is one of 4 rotator cuffs. What? Oh, yay, Tina, glad you like this. What is the acronym for the rotator cuffs? Rotator cuffs.
Sits.
Oh, very good. Yes. And actually type it in, Ensley, type that right in the chat so that everybody sees it. Use capitals. There's 4 letters, right? And, oh, there we go. Let's see. You can see it in there. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's S-I-T-S. Sits. Like he sits, she sits, the dog sits. S-I-T-S. Supraspinatus is one of our 4 rotator cuffs. Look where it lives. Supra, right? Superman flies in the air. Supra, up. It's the uppermost rotator cuff. Here is the spine of the scapula. And that delineates, that spine of the scapula delineates the little nook, the cranny, the fossa, the little cavity where the supraspinatus lives. Right here. Now, just below that, let's take a look at infraspinatus. And we'll see another picture of this in just a moment. But I want to have you see it here. So, spine of the scapula. All right, let's go back. Posterior view, right? Spine of the scapula. Infraspinatus is just below. And then we have the yummy teres minor right here. Let's take a closer look at all of these. All right, so supra, here's the spine of the scapula. And I want you to try and palpate your own teres minor. I thought that might be fun today. Now, depending on your size, your shape, your bust, your chest, here, it might be a little difficult to palpate, but we're going to give it a try. So we're going to palpate, let's say we're going to palpate most people are right-handed, so let's do it on the right side. So bring your right arm across your body as best you can. Bring your left hand over your right arm. So we're going to palpate this side. We're going to palpate the right. And so you're going to kind of cradle. So bring that over. And we're going to go ahead and find just that edge of the scapula. Go ahead and see if you can palpate your teres minor. There it is, right there. You'll know it when you hit it because it hurts. Right in here. Hopefully you had a chance to find this in school. Go ahead and give it a little love. Almost always tender. Teres minor, it's a littler muscle, so it works kind of hard. The reason I want you to palpate teres minor is because teres minor is often the culprit. It's involved, at least, in almost all shoulder pain. I don't care if it's anterior delt. Work that teres minor. You don't have to work it to death. I know you. I know me. There's a phase in everybody's massage career that I call the seek and destroy phase. And that seek and destroy phase means you can find a sore spot and you can kill it. You don't have to kill this. All you've got to do is wake it up a little. Like even 2 or 3, maybe 4 touches there. Your clients are going to not like it. You're probably not going to like it when you're working on yourself. Try it on the left side. Do it again. So kind of cradle your arm, right? So you're going to kind of cradle the arm that you want to relax. So I'm cradling my right arm now. Did I already do this side? I already did this side, didn't I? Yep. So let's do the opposite side. Cradle the arm. You're going to get into the left shoulder. Right about here is the scap, at the lateral border of the scap, right? Get in there. See if you can find it. You'll find it when you'll know you'll find it when it's like, ooh, that hurts. And maybe it doesn't on you. Depends. All right, but just want you to be aware of where it lives. That lateral border of the scapula, teres minor. Fourth rotator cuff muscle. Let's just take a look. We had the supra, infra, teres minor, right? Supra, infra, teres minor, that's SIT. But our acronym is SITS. The dog sits, he sits, she sits. 4 muscles. Subscapularis is the 4th. And what do you think about sub, right? Subscapularis. Sub usually means under, right? A submarine goes under the water. Subscapularis. So it's below the scapula. What we're seeing here is a picture from the front, but we've removed all of the ribs. So here's our, let me hide this. So here's our clavicle. Here's our sternum. So we come out here and we know that end, that acromion process articulates with the clavicle, the AC joint. But this is underneath the scapula. Yeah. It is yummy, yummy, yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy to work. But it's also super, super uncomfortable. I want to just double check our view here. It's super uncomfortable, okay? And so let's share again. So let's pop this out. There we go. All right. So as this pops out, as you take your arm up into 90 degrees, the scapula comes out just a little. This is a lovely way to access the scapularis. But just wanted you to know where it lives. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan of memorizing the origins, insertions, actions, and nerve supply. That might be one question on the MBLEx, for real. So honestly, don't spend a lot of time with origins, insertions. You're going to know the action pretty much when you move the body part that they're asking you about on the test. So don't crowd your brain with all of this. If you are really curious and you love this type of stuff, you're going to go on to be like a medical massage therapist or a sports massage therapist. There might be a place for this, but you won't need it for the MBLEx. Will you get maybe one question on it? Maybe, but I'd rather you have your brain study other things. All right. Oh, here we go. Time to dissect some questions. Perfect timing. All right. Ready, ready, ready? Okay. New part of your brain. New part of your brain. Shake it, shake it, shake it. First question. Name the rotator cuff muscles. A, subscapularis, teres major, teres minor, and infraspinatus. B, subscapularis, teres major, infraspinatus, supraspinatus. C, subscap, teres major, deltoid, supraspinatus. D, subscapularis, teres minor, infraspinatus, supraspinatus. Let's eliminate one wrong answer. Let's just go through this as if we're practicing a technique, and the technique is to eliminate one wrong answer. What's a wrong answer? You can put it in the chat if you like. Give me a wrong answer. There's wicked distraction in this answer. Ooh, people, yes. Very good, Tina, yes. Very good, Valerie, yes. Very good, Zoom user, yes. Very good, Tanya, yes. I am going to go and eliminate one of these wrong answers, and I'm going to eliminate letter C. What is, yeah, so very good, yes, yes. I want to say New York, but I'm not sure who that, New York. All right, yes, I got rid of letter C because the deltoid is not a rotator cuff. Definitely not, right? Definitely not. So we know we could eliminate that. All right, what's the right answer? Gimme, gimme, gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme the right answer. All right, let's see. You're seeing this. You're seeing the answers. Decide in your mind's eye. You've got about 10 seconds, not even. Oh, there we go. Tanya, yes. Valerie, yes. Tina, yes. Ensley, I know you know this. Put it in there. New Yo, uh-huh. You got it. Boom, boom, boom in the room. The right answer? Boom. Subscapularis, teres minor, infraspinatus, and supraspinatus. Look at this question. Look at letter B. None of you went for letter B. Good job. But look at letter B. Subscap, teres major, infra, supraspinatus. Super close, right? That is mean. Why would we put in something that's so close? This is what they do in the MBLEx. They put in distractors. Letter B could be a distraction if you weren't quite sure if it was teres minor or teres major. Now you know it's teres minor. And you'll remember. I know you will. But this is an example of what happens with answers. In every answer, there will be distractions. Excellent rule to follow. Go with your gut. Go with your first impression. When you start to second guess yourself, that's when you move further away from the answer. This has been proven for over a decade, over 2 decades, over 3 decades with the SAT tests, that your first answer is normally the right one. So if you're down to just 2 and you can't quite remember, oh, is it teres major, teres minor? What was your first impression? Teres minor. Don't try and overthink it. Oh, but major, it's a bigger muscle. Maybe it's more involved. I know. But no, you know this. Letter D. All right, let's move on. Another name for golfer's elbow is A, medial epicondylitis, B, carpal tunnel syndrome, C, lateral epicondylitis, D, impingement syndrome. By the way, these are all pathologies you'll need to know. All right, what's a wrong answer? What do you know is wrong? For sure. Let's see, what are you saying in the chat? We know, oh yeah, there we go. Look at you guys. Oh yeah. Nuyo, yep. Queenie says B. Val says B. Tiny says, yep, yep. Tina, get rid of B. Yep. Vanessa, get rid of B. Yes. Yeah, we can get rid of B because we know it's not carpal tunnel syndrome, right? We're talking about an elbow. We just have to figure out if it's medial or lateral. So we're going to get rid of carpal tunnel. Now, we're talking about an elbow. Who knows where impingement syndrome happens? Maybe it happens in different joints. But you've learned this from anatomical position. What is golfer's elbow? Is it medial epicondylitis, lateral epicondylitis, or do you think it might be impingement syndrome? I'm looking in the chat. Boom, boom, boom in the room. We got 50-50 so far. We just learned this. Golfer's elbow. So one way, so with, we'll talk about this at the end. So golfer's elbow is when you follow through with your golf stroke, you tend to blank your forearm. Right? Think about your stroke. If you're taking the MBLEx and you're trying to figure this out, and look, right now we're 50-50 in the chat. Just saying. Okay? So you know it's here, but you see my arm here. What position do you need to be in to make sure you know what you're talking about? Anatomical position, right? And I'm going through this because a few people were 50-50. Oh, wait. Okay, let's see. Anatomical position, right, Vanessa? Right. So when you're in an anatomical position, and golfer's elbow, you know, is when you follow through and wrist cracks or you blank your forearm. If I am in anatomical position and I blank my forearm, all right. Are we medial or lateral? Let's go. Time's up. Let me see. Thumbs out. Yes. Bring your forearm closer to the body. Yes, forearm closer to the body. And in this case, it's the wrist that we're talking about specifically. It's medial epicondylitis. Yes. And here's why. Because in anatomical position, when we flex, we're affecting the medial aspect, the medial epicondyle. Now, here's another way to remember that. Golfer has an F in it. Tennis elbow is our other condition that we talked about, but golfer's elbow has an F. Flex. Golfers flex, flex, flex. And that's the medial epicondyle. Pinky side from anatomical position. All right. I know it's a little confusing. All right. The most common bone in the body to break is A, the humerus, B, the femur, C, the clavicle, D, the fifth metatarsal. You guys know this one. I'm still going to eliminate one wrong answer. So we're going to get rid of the femur because today we're talking about upper body, but also that's a really strong muscle. And unless you're older, that's not the most common break. When someone says they broke their hip, they broke their femur, most likely, just so you know. All right. I see a lot of correct answers in our chat, so we're going to move forward. Good, Nuyo. You knew to eliminate that one. Good. Yes. And our correct answer is the clavicle. Yes, but this allows me to talk about the fifth metatarsal as well. So the clavicle, most common bone in the body to break. Where is the fifth metatarsal? Put it in the chat. Where is the fifth metatarsal? Have you ever known anyone who broke their fifth metatarsal? I don't see anybody responding. Here's the clue. Metatarsal. Tarsal. Ooh, Valerie rescues all the graduates by answering the foot. Yes, it is in the foot. So the metatarsal, the fifth metatarsal, is your pinky toe. And often when we hear about people like stubbing their toe or running their pinky toe into something, they crack their fifth metatarsal. I'm using my pinky on my hand, but it's the foot. Nothing they can do about it. You're not going to put a boot on it. They're not going to cast it. It just has to heal on its own. But if someone is on your massage table and they said that they have, they hit their foot on something, and then you go to massage it and it's really tender, just know they might have injured or fractured or broken their fifth metatarsal. Very common as well. It's very common. It's not as common as breaking the clavicle, but very common. Last question. Oh, another name for tennis elbow is A, medial epicondylitis, B, carpal tunnel syndrome, C, lateral epicondylitis, D, impingement syndrome. What you got? I know we just did one, but it's confusing. Let's see. Oh, we got lots of answers. Very good. Tina said eliminate letter B. Yes, you can eliminate letter B. Just get that out of the way. You know it's not carpal tunnel syndrome, right? Now, we did just talk about golfer's elbow, but let's go ahead and look at the answer. You ready? There's so many right answers in there. Boom. C, lateral epicondylitis. Okay. So what we know about tennis elbow is it's the extenders, right? Remember, we did this whole exercise where we did extension of the hand. We extended, like put our fingers here and felt our fingers extending. So these are our extensor muscles on the top. And so when we're in anatomical position, our extensor muscle, thumb side, we can feel it. Can't feel anything on the medial side. You can feel it on the lateral side. But I say extensors for lateral epicondylitis because extensors, tennis has an E. Golf doesn't have an E. Tennis has an E. Extensors. Extensors, so you have to know extensors and lateral epicondylitis. Good, I think that was it. Oh, that is not it. Oh, there we go. Hot diggity dog. Thank you for your time and attention today. Thank you for playing with me. Today did feel like play. And so thank you for playing with me. Thank you for staying positive and lighthearted. Let's see. Oh. Yeah. Thank you for doing the work, you guys. Yeah. Thank you for doing the work. Oh, and you're welcome. Thank you to the teacher too. Yeah. Good. I'm so glad that this felt like the upper body anatomy feels a lot more easy. It feels like easier to remember. You've got some tools now, right? That you can use if you see these types of questions. You know where they're talking about. You see glenoid cavity, you know we're up here. Yeah. I believe in you 100%. I believe in your ability to, oh, thank you, Vanessa, breath of fresh air. Thank you. I believe in your ability to understand this information and retain it. This isn't just words on a page. This is you practicing massage therapy. This is you understanding the function of the shoulder, the function of the elbow. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for you to massage someone's elbow. I challenge you this week, put someone on a massage table. You don't even have to put them on a massage table. Find a willing victim. Massage their elbow. Yay, I'm so glad you get to learn something new or that you relearn something every week. Yeah. But grab somebody, get a willing victim, and work on their elbow. You want to blow their mind? Work on their wrist. I challenge you, 5 minutes on the elbow, 5 minutes on the wrist. Then do it on the same side. And then have your client tell you the difference that they feel from their left arm to their right arm. Just with an elbow and a wrist. It's really something. Not even like the big thing, the shoulder. Like everybody's like, oh, I have shoulder pain. Yeah, no kidding. You and like 900 million other people. Well, maybe not that many, but shoulders are complex, are complex structures. But if you want to just see a relaxation response, I challenge you. Find a willing victim who will let you work on them for 10 minutes, work on their elbow and their wrist, and then get their feedback. Compare arm to arm. Does one arm feel different than the other? All right, I'm going to wrap up class for the recording. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes to answer any specific questions. But my name again is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course. And thanks for having fun with me today. Thanks for learning. I'll see you again real soon.